Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Zandvoort has been at the centre of the Dutch racing scene and is quite possibly the most important circuit, at least for the four-wheel variety of racing, that is, pretty much since the 1940s, helping to put the seaside resort town on the world stage. Of course, home to the Formula 1 Dutch Grand Prix between 1952 and 85. It's like it went into a bit of decline thereafter and was drastically shortened before becoming a popular home for the Masters Formula 3 races. However, today it's the turn of iGPFun-F3. With myself, Tim Cox, we've got Samuli Kumo in the production booth, but right now I'm joined by Aaron Smith. Aaron, we know about iGP Fun that it's big grids, big action, big excitement, and even in a circuit like Zandvoort that isn't necessarily the easiest to overtake at, and some people might render a little bit dull and might understand why the F1 stopped coming here in the first place. These guys can make it happen. It doesn't matter where they are.
I would agree, but to an extent, they will have to take extra caution. And I think they stopped coming here because the track was so damn dangerous more than anything. But good thing that they improved the facilities, and especially the modern layout, not this layout, in my opinion, is actually a pretty good layout. iRacing do need to really rescan this track. As I experienced yesterday, it's a tad bit outdated, but nonetheless still a very fun track to hot lap, and especially in these cars, flying through the middle sector is absolutely gorgeous. And I can imagine this man, QT Marteau, is absolutely loving it, his home track, of course, and he will be nigh on unstoppable, I'm guessing, today, as he usually is.
It's definitely well, I would say a man in form, but that form seems to just never end, really. And setting the time in qualifying just under race, coming to its closing stages, drivers have half an hour open qualifying, so their fastest possible time. Marteau doing so, the Flying Dutchman hoping for victory. It's home race today. 127.545, and intriguingly, I could just see how much he's working the gearbox, and the car here, it sounds like it's rattling around, but he's clearly going quickly doing so. Sonny Jimenez, the Spaniard, who's currently fourth, starting from the second row of the grid. Fellow countryman Victor Barris currently starting just behind him. I think we've pretty much reached the stage where there's not too many improvements going. Well, I say that, not too many improvements going on. Lee Aberdeen says, "Hold my beer, watch this," and goes fifth.
Yeah, pretty good lap from Lee. Still half a second off pole, and still even about a tenth away from the place above him, but still a fairly decent lap, putting himself inside the top 5. It is extremely difficult to extract the most out of this track. It has taken me all week in these cars to get to the low 28s. It is quite difficult, as just on his outlap, just pulls off to one side. As Victor Barris trying to improve on his lap time. I think he'll get one more lap in before qualifying ends. Those purple rims and rear wings standing out like a sore thumb. But our pole man, Marteau, I think all week, that's probably the quickest time I've seen at 27.5. I believe the fastest times we had in ARA yesterday was about 27.6. So Marteau, I was just absolutely blitzing as usual. No surprises there. But up and down the grid, the battle in the midfield from Victor Barris, Flint and McIntyre all separated by about 200. So the battle for the midfield might spice up in the middle part of the race.
It might well do indeed. It's going to be interesting to see. Checker flag is out. Session coming to an end. Drivers able to complete the laps they are currently on. A hard close in this qualifying session, although pretty much everyone into the pits and not out on track. There's only a few drivers out there on track. McIntyre looking like he's on an improving lap. Going to be interesting to see when he crosses the line if there's any improvement. There is an improvement, but only in time. He remains 8th place, does the Brit. And other than that, just having a quick scoot through the list, I can't see anyone else that's really improving.
No, neither can I. I'm not sure if it's track conditions maybe evolving throughout the session. Maybe the track temp's gone up. just a tiny bit. But I think on that last lap, McIntyre actually set the exact same lap time that he set. That was his quickest, and there's Salito going very wide and getting beached on the outside curb. Made that mistake a few times yesterday. It is one of the most deadliest curbs, and parts of this track. If you go slightly wide, that curb just eats you alive, and it's really difficult to recover the car afterwards. But nevertheless, he's still going, and he won't improve on his 37th position. And qualifying has now come to an end.
Has indeed, as well. That's how you end a qualifying session. Giovanni Salito, just stick it in the wall, be done and dusted with it. Well, you can go for the approach that Alan Talsma is currently doing, the Canadian, just freewheeling along. Well, I think he sounds like he's even out of fuel there, or he's just switched the engine off. Either. He's feeling like he is done and dusted with qualifying. The session ended. We're going to transition across to the race now. We have to bring up your grid incredibly shortly. Here they are. Let's run through the runners and riders quickly. Marteau on pole. Hammer joins them on the front row with Lamy, Jimenez on the second row. Third row, Aberdeen, Barris, Flint, Will, McIntyre, Jones on the fourth row. Top 10 rounded out by Marok and Ferrani. Suarez and Vestman are on the sixth row of the grid with Glamsetter, Robertson, Kessler, Way, Tumulkans, Hay, Leonard Cherry, disappointing from him. He's well down by his own standards, starting in 19th with Ridgeway running at the top 20. There's Putniks, Lucas, Veen, Ortlov starts 24th. Dennis, Bunzengruber, Simon Fessy, another one, bit down by his own standards. Telsma, Chuck Morrow, and Alex Hopkins round out your top 30. Then it's Stuart Milne, Ben Griert, Matt Brewer, Devine, Itoa, Potapenko, in the 36 with Salito, Mackenzie, Scatini and Malm rounding out your top 40. Last complete row, row 21 is Imhoff and Rowlands with Luedo. Wow, he is well done. Didn't set a time in qualifying, so he starts from the back. You can see how big the grid is. It stretches all the way down the start-finish straight, round the corner. And we're just waiting for the last few drivers to take to the grid. They've got about 30 seconds in which to do so, and then we will be going green, and we will be going racing here from Zandvoort. What's going to be definitely some laps of discovery, excitement, drama, unpredictability in abundance. Of course, rules here in this league that you aren't really allowed to overtake on the first lap. Just so there's no big pile-ups. Doesn't always stop them from happening, though, due to the big grids here. And also the nature of this track, very narrow too. But here come the lights. Let's get ready to go racing from Zandvoort in iGPFun-F3 as we are green and we are go. And Marteau not getting the best of starts compared to alongside him. Hammer pulls alongside, has a look up the inside. Can he get hit? Done. And Lamy, well, he's locking on the door just behind as well. But Hammer elects to tuck in behind Marteau. Everyone just pretty much meaning line and stern, keeping to the rules here, nice and steady. Wow, still not stopping a few of them having to go. Verani there, he shoved out onto the outside and can't quite get the move done through Hungelholtz. As across this iconic section, obviously moulded around the sand dunes. The sea is literally only few meters away from the track. As that's Leno Cherry there being looked at from behind by Lucas. As into the more slower sections. Box 9 and box 10. Turn 9 and turn 10 is a more commonly known this sort of sweeping S's section. You need to be patient through here before the run down. Well, his class is the back straight, and that's a big wreck, and into the wall goes Lucas, and well, toast the car instantly. He's out of the way.
I could see that coming from a mile off. Trying to go around the outside of that corner on lap 1 especially. These cars are so unbelievably understeered, especially with this amount of fuel in the car. That corner around the outside is just a no-go, and pretty much ended up the way I thought it would. which is a real shame for Lucas. But Leonardo Ocherry just managing to carry on as Lee Aberdeen now trying to pick up a move on Victor Barris up front. He has lost a position at the start, and hopefully he will try and gain that position back.
A bit of luck as well. We're into lap 2. The gloves come off now. His position climbers up 3 places so far. Alex Hopkins in 22nd and Linus Malm in 37. The raft and size of the grid. Luedo didn't make the grid, so left us with just the 42 runners. Obviously, Lucas towing. I don't know if we'll be seeing him again this evening. Certainly he'll be back next week for more fun and action here in iGPFun-F3. On board with McIntyre. Aaron, just put inside the car. I mean, this sort of run here down to Hans Ernst, it's classed as the back straight technically, but realistically, it's not that long.
No, it's really odd that it is a DRS zone in Formula One. It's not really an overtaking spot, as we saw in the Grand Prix a couple times. I think Mick Schumacher trying to put some moves, and Kevin Magnussen as well. Both Hasses trying to make moves, but it's not really an overtaking opportunity, as we do ride on board with our race winner last week. Of course, Will McIntyre taking his first win last week at Sonoma Raceway. I imagine he has a little bit of momentum with him this week, but yeah, this track requires the absolute precision from these drivers. You have to use every single inch of the curbs, of the runoffs. It requires a top-tip driver, and I think we're already seeing that as our top 5 start to slowly pull away from everyone else.
Starting to have a bit of fresh air open up at the front of the Marto, pulling away from Hammer. Yes, Hammer is no slouch whatsoever, but Marto really putting to the sword right now. Although Hammer does have Lamy for company right behind him, who's harassing him and haranguing him. Only 3 tenths separating those two. Jimenez 4th, Barris 5th, and Aberdeen. It's disappointing after, just dropping a place in these early stages. He is in 6th with Flint McIntyre 8th. Marek Suarez rounding out the top 10, those two. Then we have Ferrari, Vestman, Rollins, Glamsetter, Kessler, Way, Hay, Ridgeway. Oh dear, I've just suddenly spotted we've got Way in 16th and 17th. Austin might not be here, but doesn't stop the bad puns from happening, as that is up the inside. Lamy of Hermer. Can he make it stick? Well, I tell you what, Hermer, he's just kept his nose in there. He's fighting Lamy on this one, but Lamy, he's a wily old fox and saw that one coming and had Hermer covered off there to prevent Hermer from coming back at him there.
Yeah, that was a very good overtake that we saw from Lamy, but now he has Hermer all up his back bottom, and Hermer, as you said, is no slouch. These two drivers are some of the best in all of F3. They are on it pretty much every single week, and I will be really interested to see who will come out on top. And bear in mind as well, in IGP you have to be incredibly strategic, especially with the tyres. You have to be a little bit conservative, especially at the start, because they will fall off a cliff if you're not careful. And with a track like this, with such high-speed corners, you don't really want the car sliding all over the place. And maybe Hermer might be saving his tyres just a little bit more than other drivers, but we will find out over the next few laps who comes out on top. But Tony Jimenez at the moment sitting pretty in 4th place, and we'll see what he can do with the drivers in front of him. And
that's Vestman. Wow. Creating a rallycross circuit where there isn't one. Niklas Vestman. I know the Finns like a bit of rally. Oh, well, hello, that's Richard van Veenhoff. What has happened to him? I get the feeling maybe, because that's around the same sort of part of the track as Vestman.
I can already imagine what he's done. Already.
Go on then. Place your bets really quickly before it arrives. Go on, Aaron.
He got beached on the curb, same as Westman on the outside. Yep. just drags you out, and there's nothing you can do. And he got a bit unfortunate there. The car sort of dragged him more to the left than the right. But yeah, that's pretty much his race done and dusted. He might be able to come back into the pits, but yeah, he's not really going to get a decent result today after that.
No, it's not looking that way at all. And see Marek now, everyone's sort of shuffling around, shuffling up a little bit due to those incidents. As well, at 4 places, that's the highest position gained at the moment. A few drivers on those: Lucas Marr, Patrick Rowlands. Who else? We've got Alex Hopkins still, Stuart Mill, and Simon Vesey started making a bit of progress up into 23rd. As Laney's lost a couple of places.
Oh, and that's Mark.
Oh, wow. Beats on those curbs again.
Again, yeah, we're seeing a lot of drivers make that mistake, and that is our defending champion, Lucas Maruk. His race is over. That is his rear right wheel out of his car. And Laney as well had a little bit of an incident. I wonder if we can maybe take a look at what happened to him at some point. But yeah, we're seeing a lot of mistakes. That same corner, every single lap, someone seems to run wide, just get a little bit too much understeer, or maybe apply too much throttle too early and just drift out wide and get eaten up by the curb. And I wonder who will be the next victim on this lap.
I don't think we want to find out. Because I'll tell you what, it's starting to turn up a little bit, the pressure, the intensity out here on track. Lap 6 out of 30. Of course, Aaron, this is a little bit longer IGP compared to the iRacing officials. You know, normally about 5 or 6 laps longer to bring it up, yeah, more to a more broadcast-friendly amount of time. And it encourages you, as you mentioned earlier, that tyre wear becomes a different factor and a different thing you have to maybe consider, whereas you don't have to consider it so much in the iRacing officials.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a lot more than 5 laps. It's about, I think, nearly double the distance. I think the normal race distance is 18 laps, and this is adding 12 more to that, so it's almost double the distance of the normal official races. So this could be unknown territory for some of these drivers if they haven't got enough practice in. And maybe it will catch some of them off guard towards the end of the race where their tyres are completely gone, as we see Westman trying to go for a move on Ridgeway, and he just shuts the door on the exit and gets that move done. Very impressive from Westman.
Well, definitely from Westman after a little bit of an excursion they had. Niklas Westman starting to make his way up through the field once again. A challenge for him. Still, it's only down 4 places from where he started. You have to think about where he could have been if he hadn't have had that little trip off a track. Up in front though, Marto pulling away even bigger now. 4.8 seconds advantage over Hermer as we see Simon Festi. So he's been in full attack mode. He is up 5 places so far. Ortolov's in front of him. Putnik's just ahead as well. We're pretty much starting off this train here. There's Ortolov, so you can see in that purple livery car. He's trying to get after... that is Tumulkans. Ahead of them, Leno Cherry, who I feel like, you know, we're not seeing the usual Leno Cherry that we've seen for quite a while now. Someone who used to regularly see fighting at the top of iGPFun, and if you ever watched any of the officials, regularly saw him on there, always, you know, being in the top sector as well. That is... What's your favourite turn, Aaron?
Yeah, Punzengruber doing exactly what many, many drivers have done over the course of this race. Really unfortunate for him. Okay, I just had a mini panic attack. I thought something had happened to Marto, but my apologies. There's going to be contact, and there is ever so slightly between the 2 Latvian drivers, and Simon Fessy getting in the mix as well. And these, I don't know how they kept out of the wall with that one, going nearly 3 wide into turn 2, but they just about managed to come away unscathed.
Yes, I think you've nailed it on the head there, just about, and it literally was just about. A bit more luck than blind faith really there. As, well, they're starting to I would say it's starting to settle down. It never truly, really ever seems to settle down in IGP with, you know, it's such big grids as we're seeing Milne there trying to make his way past fellow countryman Alex Hopkins just ahead, and well, these are starting to fall off the group ahead. Can this be the move? No, Fix again about it into Hans Ernst, and now trying to get the best possible run out of here through Kume, avoid that curb of death that quite a few people have caught. Get the best possible run, and I tell you what, he's going to do it out of the final corner, and that seemed almost like a bit of a compliant, choreographed move there for me, Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, it's very smart working together. This is not an easy overtaking track.
Hold on. He's gonna. I think he's gonna take the pair of them down into Tarzan, and if he pulls it, he's gonna have the outside line into Hugenholz, and can he hold it there? No, he can't. Has to tip back in. But I tell you what, if he had pulled that off, what a move that would have been from Chuck Morrow.
Ooh, and we're seeing an incident.
Wow. It's over.
Yeah, that seems like a big accident.
Wow.
Have a look, see what happened to him. I think he probably just carried too much speed and, yep, grass on the outside and slammed straight into the wall. Slight mistake, but big consequence.
The 30 there, I didn't quite catch who that was. I'm trying to a bit of a scroll through now. Nearly end up collecting him. It's a little bit close for comfort. That's who it was. It was Mackenzie, John Mackenzie there. He just about managed to avoid them. He Scott. And, well, he's currently lying down in 34th at 4 places. And just keep you up to date. So, retirement so far. Well, we are probably going to join them potentially, but Lucas lost on the opening lap. Luedo obviously never made the grid, unfortunately. As we see Fessy, pal, just getting ahead there of Ordslov's. Fessy now up 7 places. Joint highest climber, Stuart Milne holds that title as well, jointly with him, up 7-2 in the 24th place now is the Brit. Fessy really starting to pick up momentum, pick up speed. Next target ahead of him is Putniks, the number 86 there. Latvian. What can he do to close him up? But, well, I say that, he's taking time out of him left, right and centre at the moment, Aaron.
Absolutely. Fessy does seem to have found some sort of momentum and is picking up the pieces all around him as he's sliding all over the place on the exit of that last corner, and I can imagine he will probably be sending it into turn 1 as there's not really anywhere else he can send it on this track. Turn 1 is definitely the favourite overtaking opportunity and provides very decent slipstream just after this corner, and it's flat all the way around here and all the way to the end of the straight where you brake hard and all the way down to second gear, and hopefully Simon Fessy will be able to get the move done, but we are about to find out.
We are indeed. And can he hold on to it? Well, no, he can't. And it'll be Fessy. Wow. Oh no, this is a bit worrying because he's going to come across grass. Wow, he manages to get it slowed up in time because I've just got visions of him skipping across the grass despite his foot being fully flat to the floor on the brake pedal and skittling into drivers who are coming through Hohenholz, a little, you know, bubble of their own, you know, unsuspecting, and then end getting T-boned. But Marcius Putniks there just managing to avoid that from happening. Great bit of driving to prevent a big incident, and lovely to see a bit of sportsmanship out there. As Punzengruber, Austrian, currently in 29th. That is Goyette. Somebody we haven't really mentioned so far, the 36. Just ahead of us is the American. Who's, but to be fair, he's got his own aspirations because he's got Martin Devine in the 58 car ahead of him. And then a bit of a gap between these guys and Adam Talsma, who is around about 2.1 seconds up the road from them. I mean, we're not far off half race distance, certainly just over a third race distance. Aaron, what sort of tactics you start employing right now?
Well, I think some of the drivers at the start who maybe were a little bit more aggressive. Oh, that's going to be contact. Yeah. A little bit of contact, but he should be able to continue. But as you can see, he does have a little bit of front wing damage, and he will probably be peeling off into the pits, as that's going to give him a lot of drag and no grip in the corners, as he's being now attacked by Matt Brewer, who surely should be able to overtake him fairly easily.
Wow. Salito off in the background there. He might have just clocked it and he's got back onto the track. But I tell you what, Brewer is really, really pushing hard. And he sensed that opportunity when Punzengruber was running wide due to that bit of contact. So he knows he's going to be a little bit weakened. But easier to defend around here than some tracks. And right now, Punzengruber is making his Solara F3 about as wide as he possibly can because he does not want the American to come past him. But sure, this is going to be only time. That bent front right-hand plate, you can see it there, scuffed up on Punzengruber's car right now. Let's find out, Aaron. Are you going to be right? Is he going to peel off on this lap? Well, he seems to be taking a bit more of a shallow line. Is it something defensive, or is he coming into the pits? Well, it is the latter. He is in from 31st place.
Yeah, there's not really much you can do out there sitting with front wing damage. You'll just be losing a bunch of time, both in the corners and on the straights. And I think had he not peeled off into the pits, he would have been swallowed up by Brewer anyhow, but that moves Brewer and the drivers behind him up a place, and yeah, he will slowly slip down the order, and that's pretty much his race also done and dusted. But Marteau at the moment 6 seconds ahead of Samuel Hermer. Once again, this guy showing incredible pace, and I do wonder if anybody will be able to stop him at some point. The only time that anyone has been able to was last week when, of course, he crashed at the start line, and he still managed to finish just outside the top 10 in 11th, being almost a lap down. And he just seems to find pace where no one else can. And again, it's not like any of these drivers are terrible. We've got some amazing drivers on our grid, and yet Marteau just seems to have that edge over everyone else.
Occasionally there's one driver who comes along and just have that edge. They find something where nobody else can, and sometimes it's through, actually finding something, trying something a little bit different. And sometimes it's just that natural talent level, that certain gift, certain je ne sais quoi, if you like. And well, Marteau, definitely one of those drivers right now, while on course as we come to half race distance to claim victory in his home race of the season. And you got to say, if the form book says anything, he's got to be your favourite to clinch victory today. I mean, if you look back, Hermer isn't being attacked. I mean, he had got Aberdeen right behind. No, sorry, it was Lamy, wasn't it? Right behind him. He was all over him like a rash. Lamy behind Jimenez now, but I mean, Hermer's keeping Jimenez on his 7/10 of a second, but even so, none of them just don't have an answer for Marteau, who's ploughing his own field right now.
Absolutely not. And I was just paying attention to the lines that Marteau was taking, and then as we cut to Samuel Hermer, Marteau just seems to use every single inch of the track. He uses all of the outside curbs going through the middle sector, which I actually haven't seen many other drivers do. And that Samuel Hermer seems to be under a lot of pressure right now, pushing as hard as he can, trying to keep ahead of Jimenez behind. And yeah, his driving at the moment does seem a little bit scruffy, as we have seen him dip a few wheels onto the gravel, but yeah, we'll see what Tony Jimenez and Lamely can do behind, and that's an incident for Darren Rowlandson. Oh dear, and that's contact between teammates.
Oh, no, there's one thing you don't do is take your teammate out.
Absolutely, and that's such a shame for the Shazoo drivers. Dan Rowlandson taking a little bit of an odd line. The car just gives up on him. Yeah, and just Westman.
Oh, he pulls straight out in front of him.
That's a real shame for both Shazoo drivers, and I'm sure that there will be many a chat after the race from those two drivers, which does promote a few drivers behind them up 2 places, so I don't think they will be concerned. But the other Shazoo driver, Alistair Hay, now trying to defend from Evan Way behind him.
We did have Way Hay. No, we've got Hay Way. Doesn't roll off the tongue as well as Way. Apologies when you're up covering American broadcasts for Apex in the small British hours, as Way is in the Canadian. So he got a bit of damage, but I think he was one of the car. The drivers just clipped Rowlandson as he span, as a fight on down to turn 1, going on right here, and it's a lunge and a half from Hopkins. I think that was as a bit squirrely, a bit loose. Is Dennis on the exit there, and Maro's in there too. Talsma isn't far behind these guys, getting a front row seats to the action that's being provided for us on screen. And after all that, they remain pretty much where they were.
Well, yeah, and that's an incident for Pedro Soares. Judging by the tire marks, I think he just, as Austin would say, gave it too much mustard coming out of that corner, and unfortunately lost it out. And that's Alex Hopkins, a driver who we were just on board with, now having an incident of his own, as he can barely keep the car under control. Not sure if he's gotten himself into the barriers. We will find out shortly. But yeah, a lot of drivers now starting to make a lot of mistakes. Maybe those tyres are just starting to fall away from them, as we now get a replay of what happened to Alex Hopkins.
It's going to be too much. You're running out of talent and grip. Oh, I think he must have touched the rear left on the grass on entry, because as he turned in, the car just went, nope, and snapped on him instantly. And, well, I think there might have been a bit of a bump with the tyre barrier too, just to add insult to injury there, Aaron.
Yeah, I did see him dip a rear left wheel onto the grass, which is such an easy mistake to make, as you try and take a wide line through that corner and cut the curb on the inside as much as you can, but he just tried to give it a little bit too much room and ended up on the grass, and I think he has gotten away with no damage. So he is a little bit lucky in that sense, but is now down in 29th place, unfortunately. Actually, 30th place. My apologies. He's lost a lot of positions, I'll give you that.
Definitely seems to be. Definitely seems to be. I tell you what, there's it's some gaps starting to emerge right now between this. The big trains, they're starting to be broken up. However, stop, these little individual battles going on, like this one here, as Milne finds his way past to Mulkins there. Lovely pass for P18 into an area Sharon, you said, was pointless and couldn't really get an overtake down the run down to Hansen. Stuart Milne says, watch this. I'll show you wrong. This is how you do it, sunshine. And gets the move done into in cracking fashion.
Yeah, that was a pretty good move, although it did seem like Timurlikans did sort of just give up the place. But nevertheless, credit where credit's due. He, I mean, I also think Timurlikans also ended up on the grass, coming out of the corner, and got a really poor exit. But either way, Milne up into 18th place, decent overtake from him. As now we are looking at the battle for 13th place between Glamsetter, who this season has been pretty consistent, bagging himself some decent results. But this race doesn't seem to have the pace that he did in previous weeks and is outside of the top 10 at the moment in 13th. And Leonardo Ocheri, someone who you were speaking about just about 10 odd laps ago, is now hunting them down, and let's see what he can do.
I don't think Leonard's necessarily taking any offence to this. I think he's not quite where he needs to be right now. As oh no, that's Brewer around and he is off. That's disappointing because he was running very, very well and having some brilliant battles. But the American, oh, where he goes into the gravel. Oh, that's Reed Dennis around. It's like someone's firing a starting gun. They're all falling off the track at the moment. I'm not too sure what is going on, but well, to be fair, we know exactly what's happened there. But as you called out very early on, and yet again, another victim of it, rode the curb, and around he's gone.
Yeah, we've seen many drivers make that mistake, but I also think now is uncharted territory for most of these drivers, as it's now lap 19, which is above the official race distance, I believe, for iRacing. So most of these drivers have no idea how the car will handle on this fuel with these tyres. And they've got about 12 laps to go now. And it'll be interesting to see how many more mistakes we will see throughout the grid, as we've already seen quite a lot compared to Sonoma last week, where Sonoma was just a lot of people crashing into each other. But this is a lot of drivers making lone mistakes, either locking the brakes, maybe going a bit too wide, trying to take different lines, ending up on the grass. It's really interesting to see how some of these drivers are coping with these temperatures and these conditions, and hopefully we will see some good racing because of it.
Well, hopefully we will do. We've only got 10 laps in which to find out. 2/3 race distance complete. Marto leads from Hermer nearly 8 seconds. It's approaching half a second a lap is what he's managed to pull out over Hermer. As we said, Hermer is no slouch whatsoever himself. Jimenez currently in third. Lamy, I tell you what, is closing right up onto the back of him in fourth. That gap down to 2/10 of a second right now. Barris 5th, Aberdeen 6th, Flint 7th, McIntyre 8th. It's Verani, Hay rounding out your top 10. Then Kessler, Suarez, Glamsetter, Ridgway, Cherry, Fessy, Ordlovs, Milne, Tamulkins and Marrow going to round out your top 20 here from Zandvoort. Home of racing in Holland. Jerome Lamy hunting for a place on the podium. He can see it, he can practically touch it. But Aaron, when does he make his move?
I think we will see a move very shortly. He's getting the slipstream, he's going to pull out to the right, and he is going to surely be as late as he can on the brakes into turn 1. He's going to go really deep on, and he managed to get the car stopped and gets the move done. And all Jimenez could do was watch on in awe, as even though he did have the slipstream from Hermer in front, he was just a sitting duck and could do absolutely nothing. And now, as we saw in the opening few laps, Lamy is now putting the pressure on Hermer, and we did see Lamy get past Hermer, and we didn't see the mistake he did make, but he fell all the way down to 7th place and is now nearly back to where he was. And if he can get up into 2nd place, that will be very impressive indeed. But don't count Tony Jimenez out of this. He's still in the slipstream and is still in the battle for 2nd place.
Still very much in the fight. Glamsetter and Ridgway just exchanging a couple of places in the background there. Glamsetter's a really improved driver. You know, we spoke about how a few drivers just don't seem to have answers, or maybe stagnated, or you know, not doing quite as well as what they would expect. Glamsetter, on the other hand, driver who's gone from strength to strength for me, and really started to pick up his game, and we see him fighting so high up in the standings here in iGPFun. Definitely a much improved driver. I'm sure he's got a modest chap and wouldn't say so. As Sherry up the inside. Is that a cherry on top of the cake for him? No, it's not. Around he goes. There was contact. Oh, and Leonard O'Cherry. To add insult to injury, around he goes. And I think that was Ridgway who made contact with.
Yeah, I think O'Cherry just trying to go for a way too optimistic move. He locked his front brakes and slid right into, I think that was Fessy or Ridgway. I think you're right, it was Ridgway. But now we're going to see these drivers go 3 wide into turn 1.
Whoa! How did they make it? Well, right round the outside goes Cherry. I tell you what, there's still life in the old dog, yeah, isn't there, Leonard Cherry? What a move there. Great stuff from him. Can't argue with that one whatsoever, and that's where what experience comes down to, doesn't it? You know, he's been there, done it, got the t-shirt, he's seen that all before, knew he could make it stick right around the outside of a 3 wide, kept his foot in there, job done, thank you very much. This is how it's done, you lot. Yeah,
that was extremely impressive from O'Cherry. I don't know how they kept it all on the track going 3 wide.
Oh, I don't.
That was incredible. Oh, he gets a big slide. But I think he's sort of angrily driving now, knowing that he made that mistake and is trying to battle his way all the way back up, maybe into the top 15. We will see where he ends up, but I think Maro will be on his back bottom very, very soon, and that will be a very fun battle to watch.
One to watch indeed. As we are lap 23 out to 30. Pushing the end of the race now. It's starting to intensify. You can start to see a few moves starting to happen. They wouldn't have tried to have pulled off or even thought about attempting early in the race. So know the clock's running out, of course. Limited overtaking opportunities around here. 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky, overtaking opportunities to the lap. And also it all comes at the first corner, so right at the start of the lap 2. So you need to get your moves done early, because there is only, well, effectively 6 more overtaking opportunities, because they've already completed 1 of them. So they've got 7 remaining here in Holland. As you can see from the track map, everyone's spread out a bit now, and just visually, second place comes across the start-finish line. Our leader Marteau is on the exit of turn 1. That is visually how big the distance is between the pair of them.
Yeah, just goes to show the difference between the top drivers and sort of the people in the midfield making a few mistakes. But realistically, from our top 5, debatably even top 6 even, we've not really seen too many mistakes apart from Lamley's little off earlier in the race. And speaking of Lamley, he is just about sticking in the slipstream of Samuel Hermer, and I think on that last lap Lamley was about 0.2 of a second quicker, but this is the closest battle that we have on track right now for 5th place between Victor Barris and Lee Aberdeen. And Aberdeen has shown pretty impressive pace all race, and these 2 drivers, Barris up 1 position and Aberdeen down 1. So we will see if Aberdeen can gain that place back that he lost, as there's a car pulled over to the left.
Is that Patrick Rowlands? It is indeed. 51 off. And he's had, well, 2 incidents there by the looks of things, actually, I think. And, well, yet again, the call mistress that is Zandvoort strikes again. Another driver having a bit of an excursion. 5 laps remaining here in Holland.
As on that last lap, Marteau sets the fastest lap of the race. Of course he does.
Of course he does.
With a 1:28.34. No surprises there from Marteau. The gap at the top, 8.5 seconds, give or take. Whatever gap Marteau decides to pull out in these next few corners. But I'm not sure if Lamley is going to be able to pull this move off. We've only got about 5 laps to go now, and he's on that last lap anyway. He didn't show amazing pace compared to Samuel Hermer.
No. No, it's... I mean, these two, they've raced together for years. They know each other very, very well. They know each other's limitations, you know. Oh, and I tell you what, an unforced error there from Hermer. And he holds off just about Lamy, but Lamy is close. And he knows that Hermer's going to be distracted. He knows Hermer will be frustrated by that one. And is this going to be the move to turn one? Is Lamy going to do it? Hermer, who's had second all race long. Is he about to lose it? Wow. He feels vulnerable. You can see the way he's moving, just trying to break the slipstream. But here comes Lamy. He's bouncing off the rev limiter, but he's up the inside. And can Hermer hold on? No, he can't. He can't keep his nose in there. I tell you what, Lamy, he knew he was ahead, and he shut the door fully in Hermer's face there to prevent him coming through, carrying the momentum and the speed right around the outside. A great move there from Jerome Lamy.
Yeah, that was such a textbook move. He positioned his car on that overtake absolutely perfectly. And I do think, oddly, I've not seen Samuel Hermer really fall under pressure that often, but this race he really has felt the pressure from Tony Jimenez and lamely behind, and he's already 7/10 behind, and might even fall under pressure from Tony Jimenez come the end of the race. But yeah, such a weird mistake into this corner on the previous lap. And now he slipped down to third.
Well, that one I'm a bit disappointed by today is Tony Jimenez. I thought I'm being a bit selfish here, you know, and for everyone watching at home, you know, who doesn't love a three-way battle, you know, three cars fighting over 2 podium places, and he's just fallen by the wayside a little bit, whereas Lamy and Hermer, well, Hermer, look, he's dropping more time, and Lamy's going to pick up the slipstream from the car ahead, but also so is, sorry, it's Lamy ahead, isn't it? I thought they were coming up round on the back marker. That is how close, actually. But distance-wise, Jimenez is to Hermer. It's deceiving, really. You know, 1.2 seconds sounds like a lot, but visually, when you look at it here, from these TV camera angles, Aaron, it's really not a lot around Zandvoort.
No, it's such a small track, both in width and length. It's such a tiny track. It's fairly high speed compared to some of the other tracks. Like this corner is extremely high speed, taking it in around 5th gear, lifting off. You don't even brake for that corner. This one, slight downward brakes, and then this one is possibly one of the harder braking zones on the track compared to everywhere else. But yeah, Hermer just starting to fall away even more now, about 0.8 of a second. And as you said, Jimenez not really being able to extract much pace out of that Formula 3 car and catch up to Hermer.
Well, I wonder, Aaron, we spoke about it earlier. Do you think that they've maybe overcooked their tyres a little and taken the most out of them too soon?
I think Hermer may have. He was pushing incredibly hard throughout this entire race. But at the same time, Lamley has had to come through the field and overtake the likes of Aberdeen, Barris and Jimenez after making an earlier mistake. And I can't really see a reason why these two, their tyres would be too much different unless Hermer really has cooked it. Maybe too much wheel spin, maybe brake bias too much towards the rear, but nevertheless, he's not really had amazing pace this whole race. It's still third at the moment, but I'm sure Hermer could have wanted more from today's race, and especially Jimenez behind probably could have wanted a lot more.
Yes, I think he could have done as well. Could have done as well. 2 laps left remaining here from Zandvoort. And, well, despite the big red, let's talk about retirements. Unfortunately, we have lost. Just wait to see. Yes, he's still moving. Is Rose moving? I'm not sure he is, to be fair. Roland's, we lost him on lap 26. We're currently on lap 27, so that's only one lap go. Marek also on lap 26. Oh no, sorry, he is going against, apologies, away. We lost on lap 21. Van Veen, lap 14. Vestman on lap 15, likewise with Rolandson on 15 too. So does Scatini. He went on lap 15. That was a very costly lap. 3 retirements on there with Pusengruber. We lost him on lap 13. And Toa on lap 8. Lucas, we lost him on the opening lap. And of course, Wado did not make the grid. So far, it's what, 6 or 7 retirements here. That's yeah, high level of oh, and are we going to see another one? That no, Podopenko. Was that just him lighting up the rears there? Do you think, or do you think he would know? He hasn't wrecked them at all, has he? No suspension damage. What do you think, Aaron?
I think he made a similar mistake to I can't remember the exact driver who made the mistake earlier, but going into that fast right-hander, just dipping a grass onto dipping his wheel onto the grass, not dipping a grass onto his wheel. But in the background, Marteau just coming up to lap these guys. Marteau lapping up to around 30th place nearly, which is very, very impressive considering there was about 42 people who started today's race. And yeah, Marteau, as usual, been in an absolute league of his own as he crosses the line now to start his final lap.
It does indeed. White flag in the air, 1 lap left to go, 9.5 seconds advantage. It's not really looked like any more than a canter for Marteau. I don't know if he's even been that fast for him. He's looked unfazed, out in front, total domination and control. Having said that, last time around, he set the fastest lap of the race on 1:28.26. Really pushing right to the very end. And he holds that title now by about 500ths of a second. Jerome Blamey, second quickest time, 1:28.31. Let's see everyone heading out onto the final lap. Vessi trying to find a one last gap, one last chance up the inside. Can't get it done, can't keep his nose in there. Glamsetter able to defend. Ridgway closing in on these group. Not far behind at all right now, and he will continue to close in more and more as these two fight and fight harder. Glamsetter locking up there into Hugenholtz. Now begins to drag up the hill across the white dunes of Zandvoort, seaside town here in Holland. And a different line's been taken there by different drivers, and you have to wonder who's going to be closer. But I tell you what, Ridgway, definitely the driver in a bit of form here. He's taken 3 attempts out of these guys early on, but here is your winner. Marteau wins here in Zandvoort in iGPFun-F3. This home race. Congratulations to you. Lamy picks up second. Herman last of the podium places. That is what Jerome Lamy thinks of, well, this race. Just cross the line and just sticks it in the wall. He's ready for home.
Well, I mean, it was an incredible performance by Lamy. I think apart from Marteau, he was definitely the second best driver, hence why he came home in second place. But Simon Fessy not able to actually, I think he got overtaken by Ridgway on that final lap. I think there was a mistake from Simon Fessy. Yeah, on the final corner, he may have been just pushing that a little bit too hard, got on the outside curb, and allowed Ridgway to pick up 14th place. But Glamsetter doing a good job to defend from the drivers behind. Martin Devine in 22nd, holding off Goethe in 23rd. Some of our drivers putting on a decent performance, others not having the best of days, but Marteau, once again, as usual, a unstoppable force, it seems, in this F3 car. And because of Maruk's endeavours today, he now has, I think now, a 30-odd point lead in the championship, which is absolutely incredible.
Is at this stage of the season, you know, pretty much halfway through the season now. There's Marteau coasting home. Just waiting for the last two drivers to head across the finish line, and then we can pick up some classified results here in Holland. It's been an absolute cracker once again. In the duel in the F3 crown that is iGPFun-F3. Here are your results. Marto, your winner. And Donuts, oh, well, feeble attempts at it. Gets it going eventually. There we go. Round he goes. Laney finishes second. Hammer third. Jimenez fourth. Sorry, Countryman Barris behind him in fifth. Lee Aberdinian has to settle for sixth. Flint seventh. McIntyre eighth. Varani and Hay going to round out your top 10. Kessler, Suarez, Glamstetter, Ridgeway, who just got past Vesey for 14th on the final corner in the final lap. Ortolov 16th with Milne and Leonard O'Cherry running at 18th. With Chukmaro and Tamulkans running out your top 20. Talsma, wow, the Canadian finished 21st. Divine, Goyette, Putnix, Dennis McIntyre, Solito, Brewer. He's going to be devastated because he was battling much higher up and had really good place, the American. In the end, that's a settle for 28th with Malm and Hopkins running out your top 30. Then in 31st, it was lost track there. Imhoff, it was indeed, with Potapenko, Rowlands. Sorry, I missed off. Lucas Marek there. Potapenko, Rowlands Way, Rowlandson. We're into the retirements here now. With Way, Rowlandson, Vestman, Scattini, Van Veen, Punzengruber, Itoa, Lucas, and of course Lueda, who did not make the grid.
Yeah, wow. Very different results for some of these drivers. It's so up and down, and yeah, a lot more retirements than I thought we'd get today. But nevertheless, it was still a fairly entertaining race, and I for sure cannot wait for next week, where we will be heading to COTA, of course. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
It's a weird one for me. Personally, I find it okay to drive. There are other tracks that I prefer to drive as a driver's track. But in terms of racing, it's lovely and wide. There's some big, overtaking areas as well. Of course, turn one, the long run down the back straight into a big heavy braking zone. That tight left-hander. There's chances are plenty. You've got the iconicness of the sweeping S's, through turns 2, 3, 4. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the drivers get on with that one. But that's going to round things out for what has been an absolute festival of speed and action here this weekend on Apex Racing TV. Of course, coming up tomorrow night, it is the late Apex with myself and Sam Fitzpatrick for more debate, games, news from the sim racing world. Make sure you check that one out as well. Of course, then kicking off the week ahead, it's another great big week here on Apex Racing TV. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on little bell notifications so that you know for every time we go live. Of course, we've got Ritmatech. That is tomorrow morning. Tomorrow night into the following morning. Norse Mastercap from Porsche, the Norwegian broadcast. Then it's back into the weekend's flow with Radicals, Apex Racing Academy F3, ARL GT Americas, SRF Weekend Warriors, and of course, we'll be back next weekend. And Austin should be back too when we'll be live from COTA. From myself, Tim Cox, Aaron Smith, and Samuli Kumo. We will see you soon.